Welcome back to the second of the series of Make Your Passover Seder Spiritually Meaningful. And today we're going to tackle the most important song in the Seder that the kids sing, the Nishtana. Nishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot mikol haleilot שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה חמץ ומצה הלילה הזה כולו מצה הלילה הזה כולו מצה. Second verse שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שאר ירקות הלילה הזה הלילה הזה third verse שבכל הלילות אין אנו מטבילים אפילו פעם אחת הלילה הזה שתי פעמים הלילה הזה שתי פעמים. Fourth verse שבכל הלילות אין אנו אוכלים בין יושבינו בין מסובים הלילה הזה כולנו מסובים הלילה הזה כולנו מסובים. So these are 4 questions. And who asks those 4 questions? The children. And let's review the questions. So, Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halayilot. How is this night different from all nights? How come on all nights we have the choice? We can eat matzah, we can eat bread. But this night we only eat matzah. You won't find bread on the table. Ask the children. And then the children turn to us, the adults, again. And they ask again, how is this night different from all nights? How come on this night how come on all nights we eat all kinds of vegetables, all kinds of flavors of vegetables? On this night, the vegetables are all bitter. Ask the children. Where are the sweet ones? Something here is different and strange. And then the children notice one more thing, and they go ahead and sing to us. Why is this night different than all nights? How come at all nights we do not dip our herbs in anything, really? And this night we're dipping our herbs twice. We dip the karpas, and then we dip the maror and the charoset. We dip the karpas in the salt water, and then we dip the maror and the charoset later. What's all this dipping about? Ask us the kids. And then there's a 4th thing that bothers them. They notice that this night is different from all nights. How come? On all nights, we're sitting in any which way. Anybody can eat in any posture they would like. Most of the time, probably, we're eating in an upright posture. I think this is really how the kids are intrigued. But this night, We lean to the left as we are eating part of the ritual foods of the Seder. How come? Ask the kids. It's a very simple song. It's a song of kids observing the deliberate ritual changes and asking how come. So what is this all about? To begin with, let's go to the simplest level of this song and this observance, or this part of the ritual. So this follows the instruction, the ancient instruction, V'yigadeta levincha, which is Hebrew, and tell it to your children. So the Passover night is an exercise in pedagogy. It's an exercise in telling the story of our origins. The Jewish people start once we leave Egypt. We were not a people, we were not a nation. We did not have a constitution. We were really a bunch of tribes who evolved from 12 clans, and those clans were each started by one of the sons of Jacob. So for 400 years in Egypt, we were this extended family that grew and proliferated. They had a high birth rate, and by the end of those 400 years, it's a massive ethnic group that's based on 12 tribes named after the 12 sons. But these are the 12 tribes of Israel. But they're not organized as a people. They do not have they're not a nation. They do not have a constitution. They never had to govern themselves. Slaves do not govern themselves. And they are liberated. They leave their conditions. They leave their social, political status as an ethnic group that serves the leading class. They're in the desert, and they turn into a nation. They receive the Torah. The Torah is fundamentally their constitution. We could think of Moses as a founding father. So they're in the desert, and one of the first commemorative laws, one of the first observances of the new tradition, the new Jewish tradition in the desert, is to commemorate leaving Egypt and being liberated and starting as a nation, and how to do so. And the instructions that the Torah gives us is to slaughter the Paschal lamb, so have a sacrifice, eat matzah to commemorate the haste in which they left Egypt, so there's no time for the bread to rise, and also to tell the story, pass on the story to your children. V'yigadeta levincha. So the book that we read during the Seder is called the Haggadah. Haggadah is the telling, and that it's exactly derived from the word v'yigadeta, and tell. So this is a literal core observance of Passover, is to tell it to your children. And the question the rabbis asked was, how do you tell? How do you tell a story in a compelling way, in an experiential way, in an embodied way, in a way that talks to all seven intelligences, that talks to different learning styles and different personality types. Yesterday we talked about the 4 children. You tell the story differently to each one of those types. So they devised the Seder ritual as we have it today, with the Seder plate, with all the different ritual acts and all the different ritual foods, as a way to stimulate, to trigger interest in the children. We don't want to preach to you, kids. We're going to do these strange things, and you are going to then get curious and ask us. And as you ask, then we're going to tell you the story. In fact, it's due to the Seder that we are still around 3,200 years later, because we've been telling this story from year to year to year during Passover. And this is for the kids. But let's dig deeper. On its surface, it's a simple set of 4 questions with a beautiful melody. So here, with the help of, again, Reb Michael Kagan, my colleague and friend from Jerusalem, who wrote the Holistic Haggadah. This is a Haggadah that I highly recommend. It's available on Amazon.com, the Holistic Haggadah, with lots of amazing inspirational commentary by Michael Kagan, bringing together East and West, modern thinking and traditional wisdom, Hasidic, Kabbalistic, Nishtana. Ain't just for kids. It's also for the deep heart within each one of us, the deep neshama. So let me read in the words of Reb Michael Kagan. The orders of these questions is significant and can be seen as an abbreviated process of healing into God. I love that thinking, healing into God. Not healing from something. Obviously, we're always healing from a discomfort, from a trauma, from from a disharmony or dysfunction in our lives. We're always healing, aren't we? But here we're not healing from something. We're not trying to fix something, but we're healing our way into God, healing our way into a greater, more whole, more pleasing, more fulfilling evolutionary state for ourselves. And he compares this to, he says it's like a 4-step program. like 12-step for Alcoholics Anonymous. He says, well, this is the ancient 4-step program, preceding the 12-step, I guess. So step 1, the first question, is recognize that you are trapped in living the life of a slave. Be willing to deflate your ego. And this refers to the matzah, right? Why on all nights we eat chametz and matzah, but on this night only matzah? He says, because we're recognizing that this is a time to deflate our ego, to take the puff, to take the fermentation away, symbolized by bread, which is okay for the rest of the year. But on this night, no ego, right to essence. And then he says, and begin practicing humility. Admit that you cannot do this on your own and allow yourself to turn back to God. It's humbling. Passover, in the spirit of matzah, in the spirit of thinness, is an opportunity to be humble. Admit. Take the mask off and say, you know what? I've got a lot of slavery in my life. It's my job, it's my relationship, it's my living situation, it's the deep wrestling of my soul, the discomforts, the challenges. Let me admit them. All year long, I do such a good job chugging through, putting on a bright face, working my good attitude, putting all these things aside not to be distracted. Tonight, let us admit the slavery. What is my slavery this year? So it's a time of humility, a time of thinning, becoming like the matzah, essential, and admitting without fluff. Admit that you cannot do this on your own and allow yourself to turn back to God. And God, whatever that means for you. Again, I want to bring it down for the simplistic theological God as God is described in the book. and invite us to define that godness, that goodness for you. What are you healing towards? What is the ideal state? What is the promised land for you? What is the God, the highest value and highest power for you? That was step number 1. Let me share step number 2 in the words of Reb Kagan. Be willing to face the bitter truth. And here we have the maror. Why is this night different than all night? Because all nights we eat all kinds of vegetables, but this night it's only maror. I'm willing to face the bitterness of who, back to his words, who you are and how you are living your life, your lies. Practice telling the truth. Tell the bitter truth about your own life. It's challenging, but this is real. Are we prepared to leave our own personal slavery? If Passover, Seder, is a metaphor for the internal process of growth, of improvement, of, Reb Zalman used to say that plants are heliotropic. That means that they grow towards the sun. And human beings are theotropic. We grow towards God. You define God for yourself. So again, be willing to face the bitter truth, maror, of who you are and how you are living your lies. Practice telling the truth. That is the meaning of the second question. The third question, or the third step in our 4-step program, do not be afraid to step into the layers of pain that surround the heart. Oh my God. Grieve all the losses and be willing to let the tears, karpas, remember the karpas that's dipped in the salt water, the tears? Can I really dip myself in the feelings that are generated, that are triggered around the lies that I tell myself about the way I'm enslaved in my life? Renew the contact with your heart energy. And for those of us who are on the path, those of us who are either both healers or therapists, or for those of us who have engaged deeply with healing and with therapy and with deep emotional process, we know that it takes going right down the bowels of the earth of our challenge in order to spring up as a new sprout, to rise as a phoenix. It really takes going back and experiencing that pain. Can we emotionally engage in such a way with the tear, with that little bowl of tears, that will allow us the liberation that's waiting on the other side? Let the inner bitterness be miraculously transformed by love into love. Love into love. And here on the Seder plate, we have charoset. It is sweet. It's the sweetness of love. And we take our maror, we take the celery, we dip it, or the lettuce, we dip it into the charoset. We take our bitterness and we dip it in that sweetness of love. So we transformed by love into love. So that's the third question about dipping twice, dipping into the salt water and then dipping into the charoset, dipping into the tears, and then dipping into the sweetness. And the fourth question is about all of the nights we either sit upright or recline. On this night, we eat reclining ritually. Let your over-judgmental self rest by practicing acts of loving kindness. Let yourself be filled with compassion. Hand over to God the heaviness of your burden and let yourself rest in God's hands. For Hashem Tzivaot has promised to deliver you if you're willing to be delivered. So what he's talking about here takes a little bit of explanation. This is a beautiful metaphor. When we lean or rest our judgmental self by practicing acts of loving kindness, here's what we're doing. The left side of us is the side of the Sephira of judgment, of Din, Kabbalistic Sephira of judgment. That's my judgmental self. The right side is the side of loving kindness. So when I lean into the left, I make more room for the right side to expand. So I'm taking my judgmental self and I'm leaning in. That is the reclining at the Passover Seder. And I'm leaving a lot of space for the right side, the hand of loving kindness. I'm minimizing the Sephira of judgment, of Din, and I'm expanding the Sephira of loving kindness. I'm bringing in compassion into my life. And by doing so, I'm bringing compassion into the world. What a beautiful deep take. What a beautiful roadmap for really the spiritual journey, the internal journey from slavery to compassion, from the admitting, the removing away the ego through the matzah, to facing the bitterness of slavery through tasting the maror, through taking that deeper to the emotional realm, dipping into the tears, and then deeping into the sweetness of love. And then deliberately expanding the space for loving kindness in my life by reclining to the left and opening a void in which compassion and love and strength and wellness and healing into God can come in. It's amazing teaching. I want to wish us that this Passover, we as we sit at the Seder and we sing the 4 questions, we sing the song of the story that I need to learn, the story of liberation of my becoming, the story of opening up to the Torah of wisdom and wellness and growth and faith and love and light, both within myself. And you know what happens when we allow that opening, when we take the next step in the journey of our spiritual evolving, our spiritual becoming, is what happens is that the light that I claim, the charoset that I eat, and the song that I get to sing, and the story of liberation that I get to share, is then touches others, right? It's a story that spreads. It's a story that ripples. My liberation as a person becomes my family's liberation. My wellness as a person, my family's wellness as a group becomes the liberation and the wellness and the evolution of my neighborhood or my community. And my community's wellness, especially our community, as a Jewish community, our integrity, our wellness, our healing becomes the wellness and the liberation of the Tibetans and of the Mexicans and of the immigrants from Guatemala and Central America and of the Africans in Nigeria who are being exploited by forces greater than them, and of the Palestinians and of Jews who are oppressed in places where anti-Semitism rules, and of on and on. All those who are on their path to liberation, on their path to evolving into wholeness. Thank you for sharing this teaching. It's been great to reflect on the deeper meaning of Nishtana. I want to wish you just an amazing Seder. We'll be back tomorrow with another teaching on make your Seder spiritually meaningful. Join us on Facebook, and you can find us here on YouTube. I'm Rabbi Reuben Modek with Makom Halev Community and with Hebrew Learning Circles. You can look us up on the web. It's Hebrew Learning Circles with an S.org or Makom-Halev Community. Makom Halev is a heart space. That's Hebrew for heart space. I really appreciate you being here. This is a good day. Continue with your preparations for Passover, preparations for your life, and have an amazing day. Thank you.